the American Visionary Art Museum. So as before, just to give a recap of what this second portion is about, this contains 67,000 square feet of exhibition space and permanent collection of approximately 4,000 pieces. A beautiful museum, a lot of mosaic pieces, and the campus has a tall sculpture barn, which we're going to be covering now, which I call the Sculpture Gallery. And it also has a wildflower garden along with the large exhibition and event spaces. So please forgive me because I'm naming these things myself because I'm not exactly sure. There's so much to cover in this museum. So I'm calling this as the Sculpture Garden, and this is a beautiful piece here. All of these artists here, and they're self-taught. I'm giving you a span of this other portion of the building that we will be visiting as well. And the museum has no staff curators, and they use guest curators for their shows. That's their preference. And rather than focusing on shows of specific artists or styles, it sponsored theme exhibitions with titles such as Wind in Your Hair and High on Life. And so in this particular piece here, I focused on, again, in the Sculpture Garden. If you look at what's going on, I walked up the stairs. It's all wood, has a very primitive feel to it. Have to admire the artists that have the talent to craft what's in this museum. A lot of pieces are extremely outstanding, as you can see for yourself, and we will visit some of these. I'm coming down the stairwell here, and this wooden piece, it was an interesting feel being in there. It took me back to like childhood, like when you're in a tree house, but very safe, solid, robust structure. And as I'm coming down, there's another pink piece here that's carved in wood and painted. I'm not going to focus on all of the artists, but just want to give you a snapshot of what's in the garden and how beautiful it is. It's like I was there during the time of day. Admission is about $30, and you feel like I was lucky enough to have all of this to myself for the most part as I walk through what I'm calling the Sculpture Garden. Very eclectic, and this particular piece here is one of the more noticeable pieces on the outside, and it is like a mosaic egg. I think it's called Cosmic Egg. And you can just get an idea of how much of a attraction this can be if you're just walking down the street. But look at this monstrosity of a piece here, which looks like a cello of some sort, almost themed like birds. There's a nest perched at the top of this particular other building, which is the third building we'll be walking into. It's almost like there are 3 to 4 different type of units or buildings or gallery spaces that you walk into, and this outside portion I'm considering like an open second portion. This is like a meadow type of peacock. I think there are various artists that have done multiple pieces in there, and there's individual artists that have also done individual pieces. So walking into this particular, I'm calling this like a performance gallery, this beautiful floor with a checkered or chess type of pattern on the floor. I was amazed looking up at the top because these panels that are the top that are suspended on wires, I didn't realize. I had to take a closer look, but they're all hand painted, and they have messages, and a lot of what I've seen here, a lot of the themes are humanitarian, and they're inspired in some type of religious connotation. I'm not sure what the significance of the elephant was here, and I didn't focus in on the plaque. Focused in a little bit more on trying to capture some of the hand-painted craftsmanship that was labeled on these panels and on this elephant. Nice structure, and as you walk outside, to your right you go to the main entranceway, and to your left, which is where we're going, you go back into the actual last portion. And make sure you have your ticket, because anybody could just walk off the street. I didn't think about this, but I didn't keep my ticket, and the actual receptionist asked me for a ticket. Let me go anyway. I didn't have a ticket, so keep that in mind if you go. I'm calling this Pageant Gallery, first floor, because there are 2 floors, 2 tiers in this particular building. Enormous. This is all looks like I'm outside, but this is inside. So this is handcrafted. This is a enormous, almost like warehouse space. And you get a sense of, we're gonna go through some of these pieces really quickly, but you can see how much time it would take to craft many of these particular pieces. And these pieces are massive. I'm calling it pageant because I do not know the origin, but I believe a lot of these were actually used in pageants in Baltimore or in other places. And they probably were housed or museumed here. I don't have the history or the context of that. You can find that out because it is on the plaques. But once again, I was so awestruck by the massive size of, look, your pink poodle here. And these things are constructed very well and seem to be quite durable on these kind of bicycle apparatuses. And you can get a sense of, again, I can't express enough of how much, if you would just think how long it would take to craft some of these things. This is a wooden totem, and that is the artist's plaque there. And right to the right, I'll be focusing on, this is a license plate bench with, it seems to be like computer chips of some kind to house the bottom portion of that bench. Take a look, or there again, another religious inspired piece of some motifs and different variations of everything that you can think of, mosaic tiles and bottles, all used to craft that particular car. This was one of my favorite pieces, this enormous alligator that is for several people that can ride a bicycle on. And let's just take a look at the scale of this monstrosity of a piece. Pretty dynamic with this long tail that's suspended from a variation of apparatuses. I can't even begin to think of, from a mechanical standpoint, what was used, but you can see how several people can sit in this alligator, and I'm assuming it will have to all be in a synonymous motion to, you know, get the momentum to drive this thing down the street. But what an impressive effort. And it has the portioned body that you can see, like several people can sit in each little different portion of this alligator, in the mouth of the beast there. And there's some items there. This huge figurine with a mosaic, beautiful tiled bottom portion of the dress. And this actually does turn on a particular axis. I think it sways from right to left, and then I think it actually spins all the way around from front to back. But again, take a look at the size of the warehouse, at the size of these particular pieces. They are massive, and I can only imagine from a standpoint of skill set what it would take to, or how many hours of craftsmanship that would go into crafting these things. This is for fun. I've heard of this, but I'm not too sure. This is called the bra ball. I don't know all of the history of that, but I think I saw this focused on television at one point in time, but I'm sure you can look that up and find out what that's about. And to the right, there were some other particular religious type Madonna and Child motifs here that seem to be, or were used in pageants. Didn't cover everything. I covered as much as I could. These are robotic pieces that are interactive. You press some buttons, they kind of light up, they sing and dance. You have a lot of automatons like that throughout this. And then here is a orchestra, a mini orchestra that's done in impressive detail. Not sure exactly what they were made out of, but that was impressive. And then there's a particular, this is the second tier. So you take an elevator upstairs, or you can walk upstairs. Take a look at this beautiful hand-polished chair, and that's actually a rocking chair, so it does rock, and it's almost looks like one of those gaming chairs, but it's wooden. Beautiful piece. And throughout this particular second floor, you'll see some of the artwork here that's done by a combination or mixed media of quilts, temper paint, acrylic paints, and so forth, of a person who's done variations of particular celebrities and so forth. There's an idea of what the scale is like. And next to, or across from this little automaton here, is actually a workshop and a library, which is very nice, in a large library. And I think it's only by appointment to an extent during particular hours, but all of that will be something that you can look up if you're interested in. Josephine Baker. So we'll go along down this corridor here, and you'll see some recognizable faces as to who's who of celebrities. And these were done to seem, it's a mixed media of quilt work, fabric work, collage, temper paint, acrylic, beaded work, and everything else that you could possibly think of. And impressive with the size and all, and you can get an idea of what these are like and the same artists that have crafted these particular pieces. But what an experience this particular gallery, and a lot of fun. So for family and kids, you will not be disappointed if you go to, I'm calling it Baltimore American Visionary Art Museum, but it's called the American Visionary Art Museum. Both are recognizable and apply. You will not be disappointed if you check this place out. It will keep you definitely entertained and quite a bit to look at. So tune in for the first part if you haven't seen it, and thank you for watching.